Hello and welcome to another regame review video. In this video we're going to talk about the latest game in the Assassin's Creed series, Valhalla. So stay with us. But first, if you're new here be sure to subscribe with the bell on for our future uploads. It's been a wild ride this year, but you can always rely on Assassin's Creed to lighten the mood. Despite releasing 12 Assassin's Creed installments since 2007, Ubisoft is still finding ways to keep the series fresh, and the latest sequel, Valhalla, is one of the best titles yet. This time around, the series is set during the Viking invasion of England, with you taking on the role of Raider Ivar. And, given the latest Assassin's Creed chapter is set in a time period synonymous with looting and pillaging, it's no surprise that Valhalla brings with it much more aggressive and chaotic combat. At times, Valhalla's gameplay often harkens back to the more classic combat of Assassin's Creed 2, and the series rediscovers the sense of humor and rugged silliness, which has been missing since Black Flag. The series often takes itself a little bit too seriously, so it's great to see Ubisoft embrace a more jovial tone. But old habits die hard, and Ubisoft still believes that bigger is better, creating a game full of wide open spaces, populated with little more than a handful of scattered collectibles. For the first few hours, you're thrown into the icy political drama of 9th century Norway, where Viking warrior Ivar runs around snow-blasted islands, having stern conversations about the future of her clan. You can play as a male or female version of Ivar, or have the game swap between them at intervals. This extended prologue plays out a bit like a Scandi Phantom Menace, and, after a while, Ivar and her brother Sigurd give up and decide to build a new life in England. It's for the best. Ivar and her crew of Vikings go to war with other clans, and she of course carries out missions on her own in traditional Assassin's Creed fashion. The game centers on you expanding your clan's influence across England's 4 kingdoms, forging alliances and collecting resources to build up your riverside settlement. Collecting is a kind word for what you're actually doing. Ivar and her clan are brutal warriors who raid any settlement they come across, pillaging and annihilating their way to land dominance. As you travel the English channels in your longship, with a simple button press you can initiate a raid on any settlement you see, which is great fun. As you invade, you work with your crew to find treasures and resources to send home, and the game does a good job of highlighting the camaraderie aspect of the raids via a fluid stream of dialogue between Ivar and her fellow warriors. Conquest battles return from Odyssey in the form of assaults and are larger-scale raids on gigantic fortresses that feel pretty epic and are tied to the main narrative. Raids and assaults are naturally where you'll engage in the most combat, which is the backbone of this title more than any other in the series. Ivar can wield any combination of swords, shields, flails, maces, axes, and more in her 2 hands, and you can unlock a host of abilities to unleash hell upon your foes. There are melee abilities, which allow you to rush enemies and slam them into walls or throw them off cliffs, throw a barrage of axes at their skulls, grapple and fling them into other enemies, and much more. And then there are ranged abilities, like one that lets you slow down time to land perfect shots, take direct control of a fired arrow's trajectory, mark multiple targets for a quick projectile assault, and so on. Abilities are unlocked by finding hidden scrolls across the game world or via the game's sprawling skill tree, whose myriad nodes afford you stat increases and various buffs as well. Stealth is straightforward, enabling those who want to play as the silent assassin type. By mastering the hidden blade and Ivar's bow, you can clear entire camps without being detected. Ducking in and out of cover, monitoring patrols, and popping precise headshots feels fun and fluid, especially with raising your hood and blending into crowds a returning option. But the melee and ranged combat in this game is so effective and paramount to the experience that we found ourselves using stealth far less often than in other games in the series, which we suppose is appropriate since, well, Ivar is a fearless Viking who smashes skulls for a living. Exploration is a crucial component of any open-world game, and in this regard Assassin's Creed Valhalla is fantastic. You'll love galloping across the countryside on horseback and drinking in the painterly locales, and then splattering the blood of your enemies all over them like a mass-murdering Jackson Pollock. A sign of a great open-world game for us is how much we find ourselves just wandering around and engaging in whatever quest or activity happens to come our way, as opposed to fast traveling around like crazy just to plow through the main story and get it over with. In Valhalla, you're an avid wanderer, which is a testament to just how compelling a game world Ubisoft has created. Maybe the best thing Assassin's Creed Valhalla has going for it is the game world's sense of continuity. Because you're constantly analyzing England's territories on so many levels, it starts to feel like a place that's not just enormous, but full of people, events, kingdoms, and machinations that all affect and push and pull each other. On an intimate level, you're exploring the English countryside and its rivers and tributaries on foot. On a more macro level, you're examining the kingdoms on the Alliance map, slowly expanding your influence. And then there's your hunt for different members of the Order and the many artifacts scattered around the world. Each of these activities connects you to the game world in a different way and deepens your understanding of it, and it can become deeply immersive. One of the best activities in the game are the various mysteries you encounter, little self-contained stories featuring bizarre characters and situations. You'll love searching these out because they are so weird and funny and entertaining that they almost overshadow the main story. One involves a confused warrior who has no idea that he's got an axe buried in his skull. Another sees you aiding a ship captain who thinks he's raiding villages with his crew when, in reality, he's delusional and alone in a field with an empty longboat, wolves circling him, threatening to eat him alive. But as for the main narrative, it's well executed on several levels. It's a tale of fate, loyalty, glory, and murky morality, with Eivor having to make tough decisions as to how she grows her settlement and how she navigates her relationship with Sigurd and his followers. The characters are really well written, and each have a distinctive personality, like the psychopathic but oddly relatable Eivor and the desperately loyal Dag, Sigurd's oafish right hand. The joint performances by the voice actors and animators are terrific as well, and the dialogue sounds natural. The story takes a strange turn at one point, with Eivor and Sigurd encountering some truly trippy shit involving their Norse mythological roots. It's really wild stuff that may come off as corny to some, but we dug the hell out of it. The obligatory Assassin's Creed present-day interludes tie into Eivor's story in an interesting way as well, with Layla Hassan, Rebecca Crane, and Sean Hastings unearthing Eivor's remains and making a real connection with the past in a surprising way independent of the Animus. The settlement building system, which has been absent from the series since Black Flag, is engaging enough, though we didn't find ourselves very motivated to focus on it. Adding different buildings opens up new ways to play, like the Assassin Bureau, which tasks you with hunting down members of the Order by collecting clues, and the Valka Hut, which allows you to travel to Asgard and fight alongside the mighty Thor, Freyja, and Tyr. All of these quests are great, but the actual building of the settlement wasn't fun for me at all and felt more like a chore. The layout of the settlement feels too spread out and looks a bit ugly. But expanding the influence of the settlement is awesome. Pledging to different territories and fulfilling quests for their leaders to gain their loyalty is a fun, immersive experience, and I like how this idea of large-scale conquest ties the narrative together. This game is a cohesive package, and I think this is due to the excellent alliance system. However you approach Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you'll earn a steady trickle of resources and experience points, which are then funneled back into your settlement and filling out Eivor's ginormous skill tree. Whether you sail your longboat to a guarded monastery or power through one of the game's long story arcs, Valhalla will leave you satisfied with the rewards offered. We hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, hit the like button. Tell us in the comments about what do you think about Assassin's Creed Valhalla.